Units conversion. We are often required to change from one unit of measure to another. We need to change from what we have to what is available or is required. We will use a method that is sometimes called dimensional analysis. It uses two mathematical principles. The first is from arithmetic of multiplying fractions. We are able to divide out or cancel common factors on diagonals. We can do the same thing with units. Let's look back at a multiplication problem from fractions. Remember, we can cancel on these diagonals if we have any common factor. So on this diagonal, we do have a common factor of 2. So we can divide it out. 2 goes into 2 one time and 2 goes into 4 two times. We can also try the other diagonal. Nothing divides out. And then we would multiply numerators. 1 times 1 is 1, and multiply denominators. 3 times 2 is 6. The second principle is about the multiplicative identity element of 1. We are allowed to multiply anything by 1, and we get back an equivalent quantity. So if we do 5 times 1, we still get 5. Or if we do 1 times -7, we still get -7. So anything times 1 gives us back itself. Recall from fractions that if the numerator is equal to the denominator, that fraction is equal to 1. Here are some examples of fractions equal to 1. 3 divided by 3, same numerator and denominator, it equals 1. 4x divided by 4x, it equals 1. It doesn't matter what x is because it's the same thing divided by itself. So it equals 1. -7y divided by -7y. It's also the same thing divided by itself, so it equals 1. We will make some special forms of 1 using equivalent relations. We will use the following equivalent relations in this class. 3 feet equals 1 yard. 12 inches equals 1 foot. 5,280 feet equals 1 mile. For other problems that you may encounter in life, you can look up the equivalent relations. Our special forms of 1 will have numerators and denominators that are equal. We will make these out of the equivalent relations. For example, from our first relation, 3 feet equals 1 yard, we can make 3 feet over 1 yard, and we can also make 1 yard over 3 feet. The numerator is equal to the denominator, so it is a special form of 1. From our second relation that we have, 12 inches equals 1 foot. We can make 12 inches over 1 foot or 1 foot over 12 inches to make a special form of 1. And for our third equivalent relation, 5,280 feet equals 1 mile. We can have it in this form or with 1 over 5,280 feet. All of those give us a special form of 1, which we will multiply by. Remember, we can always multiply by 1 and get back something that's equivalent. And we will do it so that we can cancel a unit. Let's look at an example. Convert 84 inches to feet. First, we will write what we have. What we have is 84 inches. We will write it as a fraction, including the unit. So we have 84 inches, and we'll write that over 1. So it looks like a fraction. Next, we're going to find our equivalent relation and make a fraction out of it. And we want it between inches and feet. So from our chart we had earlier, it is 12 inches equals 1 foot. When we write it down, we want to write the unit that we want to cancel, which is with our 84. The inches, we want to write it in the denominator, so it will cancel on the diagonal. So our special form of 1 should have inches in the denominator and feet in the numerator. Then we can fill in the numbers. So it's 12 inches to 1 foot. So this is a special form of 1. which will give us back something equivalent. Now we can cancel on the diagonals, and we'll just concentrate on canceling the units. The inches are going to cancel out and give us feet. You could also cancel the numbers here. We won't in this problem. They will always just be either multiply or divide. So we'll go across 84 times 1 is 84, and now we are in feet. And 1 times 12 is 12. So we can divide it out. 12 into 84. I believe that goes evenly, and it goes 7 times to give us 7 feet. Let's try another example. This time we're going to convert 10 yards to feet. So we'll write down what we have. We have 10 yards, and we will make it as a fraction. So 10 yards over 1. We'll turn our equivalent relation into a fraction. We want to cancel the yards, so that should go in the denominator. And we want to get feet, so that should go in the numerator. And then we fill in our numbers. It is 3 feet to 1 yard. Now we're ready to cancel our units on the diagonal. So we can cancel out the yards. That's going to get us into feet, which is what we wanted. And now we just multiply across. So we have 10 times 3 gives us 30 feet. And 1 times 1 is just 1 in the denominator. Anything divided by 1 gives us back itself. So 10 yards is equal to 30 feet. Our next example, convert 20 yards to inches. This one is going to take us more than one step because we didn't have the equivalent relation between yards and inches. We have yards to feet and we have feet to inches, but we did not have anything from yards to inches. So we're going to have to first go to something we have. So we'll start off with what we have. 20 yards, we'll make it look like a fraction. 20 yards, put it over 1. Now we know we want to get rid of yards, so we will make a special form of 1. Put the yards in the denominator, and what we do know is yards to feet. So we'll do that one first. We can fill in the numbers. It is 3 feet to 1 yard. And now if we work it out, we can cancel the yards on the diagonal. And then we have 20 times 3 will give us 60 feet. 1 times 1 gives us 1 in the denominator, which is still the same thing. So 60 feet. Now we can go from 60 feet to inches. So we can do it as a two-step problem. 60 feet. Make it look like a fraction. For our form of 1, we're going to get rid of feet, so it should go in the denominator. We want to get inches. And we do have that relation. It is 12 inches to 1 foot. So we'll fill that in. And now we'll cancel our units. So our feet are going to cancel on the diagonal. And then we'll multiply across. So we have 60 times 12, which will give us 720 inches over 1, which is 720 inches. Another way you can do this problem, and this is often done in calculating medicines, is to do it all on one line. So another method is to write what you have, the 20 yards, make it a fraction, put your first equivalent relation. So we want to go from yards, so yards is going here. We're going to get rid of that. And what we know is yards to feet. That's going to take care of getting rid of the yards. We can put our next equivalent relation right here. And now we want to get rid of feet, so it should go down here. And what we do know is feet to inches. That's going to take us from yards to inches. Let's fill these in. So it is 3 feet to 1 yard, and it is 12 inches to 1 foot. 3 fractions, we can do it all in one shot. So let's take care of these units first. Our yards are going out and our feet are going out, and now we're going to have it all in inches. Our rule here is multiply numerators and multiply denominators. Can actually do it in one shot. 20 times 3 is 60, times 12 is 720. That's in inches over 1, which gives us 720 inches. Next, we're going to look at a problem with units that we might know nothing about. So let's convert 7 slugs to pounds. So we would need the equivalent relation between slugs and pounds. We could look it up, and so we have 200 pounds is equal to 6.2 slugs. And that's enough information to be able to do the problem. So we start like normal. Write what we have. We have 7 slugs. Make it look like a fraction. We want to get rid of slugs, so it's going to the denominator. And we want to get pounds. So we fill in what we know. 200 pounds in 6.2 slugs. We'll clean up the units, so our slugs are going to cancel. Now this is going to get it into pounds. Here you're going to have to do a multiplication and a division. Let's go ahead and do our numerators first. So this will give us 7 times 200 is 1,400. And we have pounds over 6.2. And now we'll just divide it out with a long division. So 6.2 into 1,400. Remember, you can't leave a decimal in the divisor. So this has to go to the end. It went 1 space. So this one would also need to go 1 space and then would go straight up. So we're ready to divide, and we'll use 62 into 140. And this will go 2 times. Multiply back. 2 is 4, 2 6s are 12. Subtract and bring down. And 62 into 160 will go 2 times. Multiply back. 62 times 2 will give us 124. Subtract. And bring down. 62 into 360 will give us 5. We'll multiply back. 5 times 62 will give us 310. Subtract, and we'll add a 0 and bring down. 62 into 500 will give us 8. And we'll see one more digit, then we could round to the nearest tenth. So if we add a 0, this is not going to go. 62 into 40 will not go. And so we'll stop there. So we can drop off for a 0, and that will give us 225.8 pounds. So we did convert from slugs to pounds. You can do this with anything as long as you have an equivalent relation. Let's look at a real-world problem. Sharon took her 5-year-old child to the doctor. The doctor prescribed 12 milliliters of a medication, but Sharon only has a teaspoon at home. How many teaspoons of the medication will she need to give the child? So we would like to convert from milliliters, which was in the prescription, to teaspoons. So what we're going to need is the relationship between milliliters and teaspoons, and it is 5 milliliters is equal to 1 teaspoon. So first we'll write down what we have. We have 12 milliliters, and we make it look like a fraction. We're going to multiply by our special form of 1. In the denominator, we want to cancel the milliliters, so it needs to go there. And we want to get teaspoons. There are 5 milliliters to 1 teaspoon. Now we're set up. We'll cancel our units, so we're canceling out the milliliters. And so we go across. We have 12 times 1 is 12. And now we are into teaspoons. 1 times 5 is 5. And we need to divide it out. So 5 into 12 will go 2 times. 2 5s are 10. And we can write that remainder as a fraction. 2 and 2/5. 2/5 is almost a half. So approximately, we'll use wavy lines for approximately 2.5 teaspoons. If this really happens to you, please go back to the pharmacy and get a milliliter spoon. But this is how we could do it. Let's look at one more example. We're going to convert 150 pounds to kilograms. This is often necessary in the medical field. To be able to do it, what we need is the equivalent relation between pounds and kilograms. So 2.2 pounds is equal to 1 kilogram. We will start with what we have. We have 150 pounds. Make it look like a fraction. We want to get rid of pounds, so it should go in the denominator. And we want to get kilograms, so it will go in the numerator. And we have 2.2 pounds to 1 kilogram. We'll cancel out the units. This is going to get us into kilograms when we do the math. So we'll multiply across. 150 times 1 is 150. We are in kilograms. And we're dividing by 2.2. So we have a long division here. 2.2 into 150. Decimal out of the divisor. This one will have to go the same amount of spaces. And 22 will have to go into 150. That will go 6 times. 132. Subtract. And bring down. 22 into 160 will go 8 times. Subtract, we'll add a 0 and bring down. 22 into 40 will only go 1 time. Multiply back, and we'll go one more place. So we'll add one more 0 and bring down. And 22 into 180 will go 8 times. And we'll stop there. So if we want to round to the nearest tenth, an 8 would push it up. So we would have 68.2 kilograms.